Some journeys don't lead us straight home, they lead us inward. With the book The Wrong Way Home, Miss Shonali Kullar-Shroff brings us a powerful contemporary story of choice, identity, and becoming. She's an author and writer known for her insightful take on modern Indian life, popular culture, feminism, parenting, travel, and art. She is also a screenwriter for prestigious Indian and international projects currently under development and has curated women's summits and festivals. Can we have a huge round of applause for Ms. Shonali Kullar-Shroff? She also co-hosts the popular podcast Not Your Auntie with fellow writer Kiran Mandral, offering candid dialogues on a range of contemporary issues. Joining her in this conversation is Miss Nishtha Gautam. Can we have a huge round of applause for Miss Gautam? A columnist whose writing engages with society, culture, and the quiet complexities of everyday life. Her work brings feminist perspectives into literature and translation. Thank you. Thank you for joining us here today. Over to you.
So, Shonali, welcome to Delhi. The interesting thing about your novel is that nothing happens in Delhi. This is one of those novels where Delhi is this subliminal presence somewhere and only one bad thing happens in Delhi.
What happens, remind me.
You wrote the novel.
Just joking.
No, so, this introduction may fool you into believing that it's all about laughs, it's all about jokes, it's all about humor and nothing else. It's just another chick-lit book. But it's everything that you can actually think of coming from a smart writer, from a smart person like Shonali. And I must congratulate Shonali for not being boring, even though you're talking about quite a few very difficult things here, like divorce.
Yeah.
And you're not being boring, you're not being soppy, you're not being anything that would make divorce even bigger tragedy than it already is in many people's minds. Why did you think about writing on divorce and from a woman's perspective?
I'll take your second question first. From a woman's perspective, because I feel I don't understand men enough to write from their perspective. I know there are authors who've attempted doing that, writing in the other gender's voice, but I don't think I'm there yet. About writing, see, divorce has become really common today. It's something that is no longer even as taboo in society, at least in affluent society or in metro cities in urban India. But I didn't want to tell a story of divorce. I wanted to take a woman who is not too young, so she's 40. She was married to a man who was extremely successful and also famous, and he had old generational wealth. She's holding on to the marriage for all sorts of inostensible reasons, because it's not been an ideal marriage.
And she knows it. She has known for a while.
Yeah, she's
Before
known
she
for a
moves out.
while. And the book starts with the divorce already taking place, because I wanted to see what happens to a woman if you take the scaffolding of a marriage that to the world outside looks desirable and stable. It's given a status, it's given a social currency. And if you take that away, what happens to her identity? She doesn't leave the husband. She doesn't have the courage to start all over. He leaves her, and the book starts with him getting remarried within a year of their divorce to a girl half his age. And that is not a cliche, and if it is with good reason. We see men do that all the time. They find somebody, in their 20s to marry, even if they may well be in their 50s or 60s. So what happens to this woman now? She has no wealth of her own. She doesn't even have a house of her own. Her mother lives in Landor. She has no great inheritance. where will she go? So I wanted to take such a character and see what is she going to do and how will she survive.
I found Nayanthara's character to be interesting, but there was a question in my mind when I finished the book. Am I supposed to feel sorry for her about her problems?
No, no. As a writer, I didn't want her to be a flawless character, firstly. I didn't want her to be a character that you read and you fall in love with and you feel bichari, oh my God, why did she go through this? There's so much pain in her life. I wanted you to see a character who makes mistakes, who has poor logic sometimes, whose moral compass, shifts very quickly between poles. And it is ultimately a book about survival. So I have read reviews of my novel where people say that this is not a character you fall in love with and yet you end up rooting for her. So I think that was my intention as well, more or less.
Right. And the question about rooting for her, should we root for her because we come from, and I'm talking about women, independent women, 40 women in their 40s, also divorced. So should I be, like, should somebody like me be rooting for her because of this invisible sense of solidarity that we should all be carrying on our shoulders all the time? Oh, women have been wronged for so long. Now it's the time for the equation to get balanced.
So, no, I think you know this. As a storyteller, you don't have such a clear idea of what you want your reader to be doing when you write it. You have some images of these characters and you start to build that character. I think that at 40, if you're single, she's divorced, so her story is slightly different. As a woman, if you're in your 40s, you become invisible unless you're very successful or famous by yourself, or you have one huge inheritance, or you're an heiress, okay? For men, it is not quite the same. And this book is not a man-hating book at all. This book is just saying that this society has, even though we are supposed to be living in 2026, earlier Seema Anand and I was chatting about something similar, that we are still living with two sets of rules. One set of rules for women, where policing of women happens, and where the pressure to stay young is so
Also
severe.
in
Why is there pressure to remain young? I'll tell you why. Because if you are on the wrong side of, I'm saying societal pressure on women to remain young, because men will invariably choose, youth is associated with fertility. It is evolutionary psychology, right? And so today women are sitting in salons doing treatments and going to doctors and getting injectables. Instagram is full of reels that talk about, you're not poor. They'll take a picture of a
You're
wrinkly
not ugly,
woman.
you're only poor.
You're not ugly, you're just poor. And they'll have some Kardashian picture with a facelift saying that, you could look like this instead. So there's too much scrutiny. Firstly, we ourselves are very harsh on us, on our own selves. This is just the kind of inheritance we have in our DNA civilizationally, okay? And culturally too. So I think that most women who are finding this relatable, they're seeing glimpses of their own life, perhaps, in Nayanthara, because the same society that used to invite her for dinners and all, now when she goes to a party and she's talking to a married man as a freshly divorced woman, that married man's wife comes and puts, drapes herself around the man like an anaconda, as if to prove
Right.
to her that this man is not available. And
Marking
she says,
the territory, really, marking
the territory. And this woman says, like, her husband, he doesn't look like a Dutch painting. Like, I really don't want to be with him. Have you seen his face? And also, men, when they realize a woman is on the market or single, irrespective of their marital status, I'm not saying all men are like this, but there is that odd man who will think, chance le leta hu. Okay? It could be a friend's husband. It could be a distant cousin. It can be anybody like that. So she's fair game because she's not spoken for. So I want this woman to make a life for herself now and see how she's going to navigate such a complex, nuanced landscape. And also your own identity. You keep asking,
Right.
like, who am I? I'm not a successful entrepreneur. I am no longer somebody's wife. She doesn't have children. So just figuring that out for yourself.
Right. And, you talk about, when the scaffolding of the societal interaction is taken away, when she's not invited to the parties anymore or not given that kind of bow. People just look through her.
And wave at her and move on.
Wave at her and move on, or maybe just spare a pitying glance. Ay, bechari, and then move on. Now, the thing is, what use is this society then? Why do we crave this society so much? Why does she crave this society? The society has not given her anything. Why is she still craving this society?
I think it's human nature to want acceptance where you feel rejected. She runs a PR company. This man she's married to, she had met him professionally, who she was married to. He's this super successful, award-winning filmmaker who gets, red carpet welcome at Cannes Lit Festival and all that. And she realizes that her life has been upgraded. Who doesn't want to feel important, right? She hasn't seen that kind of success and importance at work. Then she marries him. Now they're the toast of society, Invitations, people fawning over you. And we've seen that. People, this is the bureaucratic city, Delhi, right? People who are in senior positions, Bombay is the city of industrialists, but this is the city of positions. You could be the dean of a college, and you could be the head of a department at a university, or you could be, a very senior lawyer or bureaucrat. Social currency, people change, and years ago, this kissa kursi ka, the whole concept exists. Why? Because the minute you lose your position, you lose your friends. We see that. There was a politician, I remember, I think everybody here will know who he was. He died a few years ago. All movie stars were his friends. Somebody used to say, oh, mere bade bhai hain. Someone used to say, oh, mere chote bhai hain. But when he fell out of favor, I remember that he had no takers. Right?
Yeah.
So this is the world we all live in, and everyone has their own weak spot where they want to belong and they want to prove. My protagonist says, you all have rejected me. Without him, you don't think I'm important. I'll show you.
Yes, and she becomes important in her own right.
She tries to, at least.
Yes,
Yeah.
she becomes important. Because at least she finds that fire in her in herself, and that fire is actually ignited by the mother. She is the daughter of a very important mother. Important in the sense, not in the context that she operates in, but her mother gets featured.
She's an environmentalist, and an activist.
Yes, so she's on the cover page of an important magazine. So it's not that she has come from nowhere or has no legacy, but it's not the legacy that she thinks she can monetize, so to speak.
Also, no, Anishta, I've often seen this. Super achiever parents will always have one or two kids who will be, no, I'm happy with my life. What do you do? Nothing. Mom was a top whatever, dad is a whatever, and they just want a simple life. So I think that not everyone needs to have ambition, and I think that's what I was trying to show, that today people think so-and-so is an educated woman, she'll be ambitious, she looks empowered, she speaks she speaks like a person who understands what female empowerment looks like, and yet this woman has no courage to leave that marriage, and yet this woman's ambition only comes when she has been forgotten and written off. So, womanhood is a process, feminism is a process. We all look awakened, but we are all fighting our own inner battles and struggles. And that's why we pass such harsh judgment on people. We'll see women in long-suffering marriages, we'll be like, oh, it's her fault. Why couldn't she leave him?
Yeah. It's not really convenient for everybody to leave. And sometimes it's not even a question of convenience. It's also a question of what do you actually need from the marriage?
That's
because
it.
Other friends that she calls friends, they are in marriages. Ostensibly, they are happy, and maybe they're really happy. Who's to judge? Who's to say that they are not happy? And why is there only one standard for marriage? Because they don't understand why Nayanthara is unhappy in her marriage. She has everything.
Yeah, that socialite friend of hers says to her that, why? Like, he wasn't drinking and he wasn't beating you.
or having affairs.
or having affairs. Why did you leave him? As though those three boxes, if you tick, are the only reason for people to not, to remain
and
married.
she says that, he wasn't available. Oh, he wasn't around?
क्यों घर के काम में help
हाँ,
नहीं
घर के
करता
काम
था?
में help नहीं करता था. And she's like, no.
I mean, he was not emotionally available. Yeah.
So even the vocabulary is different. Even the vocabulary is different. The emotional vocabulary doesn't match, really. And that was, I think, the most fascinating part of the book. Where she's unable to explain why the marriage is not working out, and this other friend is just flabbergasted. Like, what have you done? तूने अपनी जिंदगी बर्बाद कर ली.
But that's why I like social satire, because if you take this round table of what you may call society, there are people who have been born here, there are people who have upgraded their lives and joined it, but everyone is coming from a different reference point. And everyone's translation of what is happiness is so different. Some people are really just happy buying things for themselves.
Absolutely.
Some people are just happy doing fashion and posing on Instagram with that, and they don't care if their marriage is not happy or if, they don't have children. I think these days everyone has handed over the key to their happiness to the world outside.
Absolutely.
More than ever before, and everyone in their own
Absolutely.
way is performing.
Yes, and this performativity, it just comes across as a tight slap, as Indians say. Where is
One
it?
tight slap.
One tight slap at everybody's faces, but like with the biggest sting on Nayanthara's cheek, really, because she knows these people. She knows how fake they are. She knows what is happening. She's not calling them out. So obviously, why? It's like karma coming to her. So I was very happy. Oh yes, you were very happy playing along with the society thing
Till it suited you.
till it suited you, and now of course it just doesn't matter to the society. So because you don't matter to them, so why you cribbing about it? So you're not really an outsider. You were very much ensconced here, and then people started ignoring you. So okay, good.
I think ultimately women need to really, without being preachy, I think that if we all have something beyond our husband and our children that fulfills us, okay, it can be an engaging hobby. You could be sitting and doing ceramics all day.
Absolutely.
I think we all need to have a purpose beyond the family things that define us, because women are given a script from the time you are born.
Absolutely.
You'll behave this way, you'll live this way, you'll do this, you'll do that, right? So I think if we take back our own script, then I think whatever onslaughts life throws at you, you'll still have a reason to get out of bed in the morning and,
Right.
go grab it.
So more than, I really like this line of yours, that taking the key to their happiness and throwing it to the outside world. It's actually more of a critique of this outside world, because she is a PR professional. She runs a company who is now becoming successful. In the course of the novel, it finds success. And she has made compromises for that success, right? So it's not that she's this morally upright person, and as you said,
Yeah.
that her moral compass goes ting ting.
I think for a lot of people that happens because everyone is telling you out there, this is for men also.
Yeah.
I think that in the time that we live in, being very wealthy, obscenely wealthy and famous has become the all-encompassing ambition of everybody.
Everybody.
At least in Bombay it
Everybody.
is like that. I get that
Oh,
feeling.
even in Delhi.
Everyone, you ask small children, what do you want to be? Auntie, I want to be very
rich.
famous. I want to be rich. Okay? And they're constantly looking at social media and thinking, what
Yes.
can I get? What can I get? When I become rich, I'll get this, I'll get that. Upgrading their lives, posting with it. There are all these accounts in Bombay. They normally follow Bollywood, like Viral Bhayani and
Yeah,
Pink Villa.
yeah.
People are paying those accounts to write about their new house, their new car. They're posing outside their car. Like there was a time they used to say, wealth must whisper. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah. Now it's screaming
Now it's
from
got a
the rooftops.
loudspeaker and it wants everyone to know that I
Yeah.
just got a Ferrari. Please look
Right.
at my Ferrari and like me for it. And interestingly, people are liking them for it. So I think that
that
How
is
you are as a person and what your moral compass is now doesn't matter. You can go to jail and come back, but if you are going to be living in like a farmhouse and throwing lavish parties like Gatsby, it's fine.
Everybody,
All
yeah.
is forgiven. Come back home. It's like
Well,
that.
rapists, the speed at which they are being rehabilitated in our society, and the whole Epstein thing that is unfolding in the United States of America right now, it just tells you that for the rich, everything is forgiven.
I mean, I'm avoiding reading about Epstein because it can really break you to even go that deep into that kind of stuff. But Deepak Chopra said, God is a construct, cute girls are real. This is a man people whose philosophy people follow. This is what he wrote to Epstein, right? And I mean, of course, we are digressing, but this is the
We're
world.
not digressing
but
because this is exactly what is
this
happening
is
in
the
the
world we are living in. There's someone, they've scammed a major bank. They were in the newspapers for the longest time, but they are now back in society and trying to get again, chummy with their old friends and become relevant again, and they are becoming relevant. So I think public memory is very short. The minute your face is out there, people are willing to forgive you for everything because everybody wants to hang around people
who can pay for who can pick their tab at the bar.
who can pick their tab at the bar or even
Yeah.
reflected glory, sorry.
Yes, and is that one of the reasons why Nayantara finds herself in that fix that she finds herself in when the marriage is over and she's unable to get anywhere with her career?
Should I read a little excerpt from the book
Please
to
do
give you all a
that.
taste of why
Yeah.
Nayantara? I hope I can read in this light, but
Certainly you can.
dead giveaway for my age. Okay, so this is her society friend who has now, I don't know if any one of you here has experienced this or witnessed this. The minute a woman is a little what they call over the hill, and she's single, then people start throwing all sorts of, rishtas at her. Like people you wouldn't. So,
ये झपट लो वरना ये भी हाथ से निकल जाएगा.
so now she's been introduced by this society woman to a really boring man who's sitting and talking endlessly about his wealth. So when he starts talking about the weather in Europe, that London was like this, Rome was like this, she says, I'm close to joking. What are you, a weatherman? When he starts showing off about his new apartments, Sagri is still smiling politely, not catching on to my desperation. I feel like I'm having an endoscopy done, except I'd actually prefer that. Looking for an excuse to escape, I sneak off to the powder room. If he doesn't leave soon, I might just stay in here the entire night. Thankfully, Shiv says he has to be somewhere else, presumably to fatally injure people with his mind-numbing conversation. And I breathe a sigh of relief the moment he leaves. So, what did you think? Sagri asks me, her brow raised, a smile teasing her lips. I thought it might be more fun to date Kim Jong-un, I say, picking up the bowl of wasabi nuts from the coffee table. Sagri gives me a blank look. Who, Kim Jong? Are you into Korean shows also? Seema and Twinkle are also watching these. No, I am not. I mean, it might be more fun to die alone than be with a man like him, I reply. Shiv is not my type, Sagri. He's a great guy, Nayan, and so successful. Has a massive home in some part of Bombay. All these white women are crazy about him. I tell her I have no doubt he would be considered charming in certain countries, just as haggis is a delicacy in Scotland. But he is not for me. Oh, but he's very dil ka saaf. He'll keep you happy. So this goes on. Finally, Nayantara says to the reader, what hope do I have in a world where the minute a woman hits her 40s, she's expected to grab men she wouldn't willingly buy an LIC insurance policy from? And I want to know how these men are so confident. What are their mothers telling them while raising them that they believe they can have absolutely any woman they fancy? Meanwhile, women are out there busy underestimating themselves like there's a Nobel Prize for self-doubt. But then again, maybe underestimating ourselves isn't even the issue. The real problem is a world that judges women for simply existing, exhaling and inhaling included.
Fantastic. I could actually, when I was reading it, Shonali, I could this line. What are their mothers telling them? Because this is
How we talk,
you
right?
this is how you talk.
It's true.
And when I was
The Raja Beta.
when I was reading, I had a smile. I'm like, yes, this is Shonali speaking. This is not Nayan.
Yeah, but you know, on
this
Facebook,
is how Shonali talks.
on Facebook and Instagram DMs, women, and I've spoken to women across ages, they will get messages from the creepiest of guys saying, very beautiful, accept my friendship, I love you, come meet me, go on a date with me. They can't structure a sentence in any language. Forget Hindi or English, okay? They're crass. And if you look at the picture by chance on that unfortunate day, they are posing against a truck like this. And you're thinking that we should all have the confidence of an Indian male.
Absolutely. They just have to be born
They
to be
just-
considered kings.
That's it.
Yes, they just have to be born, okay? No achievement, no accomplishment ever needed, not even decency is
Not even decent.
Not even decency. How much time do we have? Are there any volunteers that can indicate?
I think ho gaya na abhi time.
Or yes, we can go on chatting because we
But
can
we can take this off stage and chat behind this.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I think they'll tell us.
yeah, they'll tell whenever. I have a few
Go on,
more
go on.
questions. So this idea of writing a social satire, I'm pretty sure you had people in mind. I could identify quite a lot because quite a few people here, and not just the Bollywood celebrities you were talking about, but also, I was like, okay, this person is kind of a
It's a
mix of
prototype, yeah.
also prototype, but then those lines and somebody who would make up things, and how the evolution of a person changes with the wealth that they acquire. Sagari's whole transformation, we know people like that, right? How suddenly she acquires class and taste suddenly, and I'm sure you and I know people when we go digging in their social media from maybe 12 years ago.
You can see the transformation, yeah.
You can see the transformation, which is not a bad thing at all. Disowning that stage of your life, I think, is fraudulent.
Yeah, I think everyone is looking for an identity. Ultimately, it is about identity seeking. Somebody who's now trying to become classy or become a patron of arts or curating saris for a boutique or trying to be suddenly in their middle age, some middle-aged fashion influencer.
Or an artist.
Or an artist.
One character
Right.
who engages Nayanthara as a PR.
So this is all a search for a woman. Women are searching for identities because I think suddenly women don't know who are we. Our kids are grown up or we are single or whatever. Beyond what society tells us to be, who are we? So they're all thinking, how do I stay relevant? That identity search is happening because, see, when our mothers were raising us, some of them worked, some did not work. But because there was no social media, no dikhava to the extent there is today, there was no desperate need to remain relevant because your life was limited within your circles and your family groups. You weren't exposed to this large canvas where people look through you just because you look like an unimportant person. And I've seen this myself when there's a slightly senior citizen at a party. If they are not very well known or whatever, people will just say hello and they'll quickly move on. Nobody's asking them, what did you think about this? What do you think about Delhi pollution? What's happening, auntie? Tell me about whatever. People don't have time for senior people because there's always somebody more important in the room they want to hobnob with, take a selfie with, post it online. So I think everyone is afraid now living in this world.
Isn't it a talent, really? Because I'll just tell you about myself that even in a huge party, and Delhi parties are huge because houses are big.
Space is huge. Yeah. We have like 6 people in a
Houses are
party and we
big.
call it a bash in Bombay.
Farmhouses are even bigger, right? And So when I decide to go out, I just look for familiar faces, whoever that familiar face is, and I'll just spend the entire 2 hours there.
You zero in on them, and that's what you do, right?
That's what I do, and because it just
Overwhelming,
very,
yeah.
it's very overwhelming, right? But it is a skill that you actually scan the room, you figure out who the most important person is.
Yeah.
How
So
does one get to that skill?
I don't know about that skill, but I think that's why a part of my book is set in Landor. Because when you step outside of the revolving door that you're stuck in, is when you have some perspective on your life and what are you doing? You're losing yourself and becoming, these days now, like you go to Zara or H&M, we'll all have the same clothes. We are becoming like that as human beings. We are becoming like these industrial scale productions that drop every 2 weeks. What is it called? Fast fashion.
Fast fashion.
Human beings, we have become like fast fashion. We are all like each other. Our personalities are blending and we are dressing the same. We are speaking the same because we think that's what will make us popular, which is why
currency.
it's currency.
Yeah.
So which is why all the paths which are set in Landor are set there with good reason, because I think reflection is required. You need to get out of Delhi and Bombay and get out of the whirlpool that is just stripping you of your inner essence, your inner core, that silence, that stillness we all need to sit with.
But reflection is also performative.
Oh yeah, these days
Nirvana.
अगर वो भी Instagram पे post नहीं किया तो then you haven't achieved nirvana or even attempted it. Yeah.
Absolutely. So अगर वो भी नहीं किया, then how does one get out? And there are people who are Nayanthara not even once. It is very interesting. So Nayanthara is not pedigreed.
No.
Like her ex-husband, okay?
No.
In Bombay society, she's an outsider.
Yeah.
Right? So are Sagari and
Yeah.
her
Yeah.
husband. No, not
No,
the
husband.
husband.
Sagari is, yeah.
Sagari is an outsider. Right. So they are both outsiders, but Sagari becomes an insider and
She gets
loves
integrated,
it.
yeah.
She has integrated fully. Nayanthara is still discomforted.
She has integrated because she has wealth.
Yes. Yes.
That's all it takes. That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
You become part of the tapestry then.
right. And Nayanthara, now she does not have wealth. She is irrelevant because she's not her ex-husband's wife anymore. And she doesn't have anything to fall back on. And
Other than her two friends.
that's
Yeah.
it. That's it. What impoverished existence.
But
Poverty.
Bombay is full of people like that.
So is Delhi, I'm
No,
sure.
but Bombay is called a city of dreams because literally the one big difference between Bombay and Delhi, and I'm a big admirer of Delhi. I keep saying that you guys have a good life here. People are better looking, they are warmer. No, it's true. They also show off more, but they have homes they can even show off about, right? However, the one thing that Bombay has is that there are people who have, most people in Bombay have very little pedigree. They've all a music composer, an ad filmmaker, an actor, an activist. Everybody at the end of the day has come and made something of their life there, and you're never asked in Bombay, where do you stay? You're rarely asked. In Delhi, the minute you meet someone, they start figuring out what zip code and neighborhood you live in. Bombay, that happens only in a small section of society. Otherwise, in Bombay, I think people can really rough it out and be unapologetic about it. And as a city, it's a very brutally hard city. To survive in that hard city, you need to steel yourself from within. And I think where you live also makes you who you
Makes
are
you
from
who you
inside.
are.
You absorb
Exactly.
that energy. And I think just having lived in Bombay, struggling with brokers, the house hunting process in Bombay, it can kill you. And the prices of homes can kill you further.
She talks about that.
Right? So I'm just
Yeah.
saying that Bombay is like a character, a living, breathing character in my novel. But I think that we all ultimately can find the courage to survive and make it in this world. We all can. We only have to know that we only have to have that little hope or a little driving force. Her driving force is revenge and validation.
Revenge, 100%. And I wanted to get you to
They say
to
don't
that
get mad,
point.
get even, right?
Yes.
Her husband has moved on. She can get mad or she can get even. She thinks that by being successful, she will be even. But of course, then there are other revelations.
Yes, and her love life, and that's the most tragic part. It's not her need for companionship per se or love. The drive there is that I have to be with a bigger and a better arm candy than my ex-husband. He has this a tiny waisted, good-looking
Influencer wife.
influencer wife. I need to have a better arm candy.
It's true.
No love, no
But can I
intimacy,
tell
no
you,
romance,
but love
no
has become
sexual.
so hard these days. I have so many friends who are single in their 40s, whether through divorce or by choice or circumstantially, and they have tried online dating, and it scares them because it's really, they've met all sorts of weirdos online. It's really absurd. And I meet such lovely women. I'm like, why are you single? And she's like, better to be single than be with, Uh, and also, like, men are really, the generation after us is going to have a harder time in finding companions. So I think that AI is doing its bit in keeping you companionship.
Yeah.
It is
yeah.
like so many people talk to ChatGPT,
time,
right?
big time.
And ChatGPT as a therapist, ChatGPT as a friend, ChatGPT as a partner. But that AI boyfriend, and I also heard that people today, while dating online, when they're texting each other, they're going to AI to find out what is a good answer to sound wise and intelligent. So ultimately, two AIs are going to have a relationship with each other. People are only the medium.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's 100%.
And this is
correct.
dystopian. Like if 20 years ago or even 10 years ago, this was unimaginable. We were like,
Unheard
oh,
of.
that can't happen.
Yeah.
I, in fact, read China is ready with robots that can keep babies in their womb.
Yes.
Okay? And so we are really becoming like a Margaret Atwood society.
Yeah.
Redundant,
Redundant as living, feeling human beings.
right?
really.
And what is that meme that artificial intelligence is okay, but what about natural stupidity?
Stupidity, yes. Yes. And I think what makes Nayanthara very special is that she is so stupid at times.
Yeah.
Like it hurts you
Yeah.
to see somebody being so stupid.
But today I was speaking to the daughter of a really brilliant woman. And she was saying to me that one part of my mom's brain is so sharp, okay? She's been awarded everywhere for her achievements and all that. And she says one part is like, I'm like, do you have no brains? So this can exist in a human being. We can make very
100%.
smart career choices. And,
Yeah.
a lot of writers and reviewers have really praised her professional arc because there's an
Yeah.
actor, there's a politician, there's an arms dealer, and she's working on all of curating the images, constructing the images, while her own life is, floundering and in this
She
chaos.
has no awareness of it, that it is floundering and that she's getting, sucked into that vortex that she's trying to avoid.
So vortex is the right word. When you're running on the treadmill, very long after your sciatica muscle is pulled, vein is pulled, will you realize that my leg was hurting and I kept running. It's that. I think it's relentless. Living in that kind of a city, trying to eke out and living is relentless. There's no time to pause and think. And that's why people are, regret is going to be the next big pandemic. The pandemic of regret that you didn't make time for your old parents, that your children grew up in front of you, but you were doom scrolling.
Exactly. You're doom scrolling, and that's what the novel opens with, right? She's doom scrolling.
Because I
about
also
the
doom scroll.
exes.
I mean, what am I saying? I can hardly tell my children to not spend their time online.
I could read a lot of you in the book. I actually read parts of
Ab
the
wo
book
to hoga.
as Shonali would speak. So it was actually ringing in my ear.
I tell people who know me not to read this book because I'm like, you're going to come back and say this.
No, it is actually a joy to read something which is so honest. But I had a feeling after I finished reading that you kind of also policed yourself a little and restrained yourself. I mean, you could have gone all out and buried some people and some reputations. You have made some people very identifiable here. You have, but you could have. But I also saw that restraint. Did you exercise
No,
restraint?
I think the story was Nayanthara's story. Okay, so I had to rein her in. Otherwise, you would have a book with some 500 pages, and I think that like I wanted to write a taut book. And my editor Faiza was very, very like she's a very, very hard taskmaster. So I think a lot of your book success depends on the editing. You know this.
Yeah.
You teach English, you write, you translate. So you know what I'm trying to say. So I didn't want to get carried away with all the subplots and the subplots and the subplots. And also I have genuine ADD, not to be fashionable or anything. I genuinely have ADD, and I cannot read a very fat book any longer myself because I'm like, people have no attention spans. So if I go into, and it with her, it's a journey of a woman. So let's just stick with the woman and keep the rest is ambient.
No. What I mean to say is that you could have been a little more brutal, and I think you restrained yourself with the characters.
We can talk about this backstage. Maybe in the next edition I can fix that.
Yes, because these characters that you have introduced in the book, they actually lend themselves to be dissected further.
But that even my last novel had that. I think that it's actually not one person at all. It's just a composite of different kind of people. We all meet. So each one of you, when you read it, you will feel you know people like that. And I think that isn't because I have copy-pasted, also which is fine if someone does that. I think it's mostly, I just made people identifiable as an emotion.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah. Should we wind up
Are
now?
there
Yeah.
are there any questions that you would like to ask Shonali? Yes. Okay. Why don't you
Yeah.
take this mic? I don't need one. This one. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I think Delhi Literature Festival will be a big shock when they see me questioning all. Any which ways, congratulations for your book.
Thank you.
I want to ask you a question. Writing a book about women's empowerment, particularly the things that you're talking about, is very important in India, and it talks about leadership and owning up space. As a woman, do you think that India today still believes in classism at a time when they are preaching Marxism? Number one. Number two, consent is very, very important when it comes to women. As a woman, as a writer, what kind of initiatives are you taking on your part to bring about that change in the society? Because as an individual also, we create changes. And you are somebody, I'll be very honest, apart from an HR, I'm also a counseling psychologist. I deal with women who have issues like marital rape and PTSD, and I know how difficult it is. Why are you silent in terms of advocacy? I don't see you.
Okay, so I don't think you know enough about me. Years ago, Barkha Dutt and I launched We the Women together.
Yes.
I did a few seasons and then I stopped working with her. Then COVID happened. She's taken it to a different place, which is brilliant. But the reason I'm mentioning this is because women's causes are important to me. I have a podcast which is called Not Your Auntie, where my fellow author Kiran Manjal and I talk about all sorts of feminist issues. We talk about everything, actually. We talk about Gen Z, pop culture, blah, blah. I have this too, and I also do a fair bit of feminist writing. But I feel if all of us started talking about the same thing, then all our voices will get drowned out because the chorus may begin to sound annoying. I think each one of us, each woman in her own way today, who is actively involved in a creative pursuit, especially writing or media, is firstly by creating a space for herself to be heard is the first step. Okay? Yes, marital rape does happen, domestic abuse does happen, and we all find a niche for ourselves as storytellers. I also write non-fiction, but in a novel, in a social satire, which is my strength, and infusing it with humor, domestic abuse hardly has a place. But I have addressed loneliness, ageism, double standards of society, classism, and sexism in society. I think those are enough things already. Beyond this, it will become like Gyan.
Also, May I just add, I think you missed the opening of the session because that was my congratulatory note to her for taking a very important issue of a divorced woman. You know, she is still stigmatized, even in the societies that we live in. And she has just taken that up and made it not boring, not rondu, or not a subject that needs sloganeering. I do a fair bit of sloganeering out on the streets. She's doing it by writing this fancy, fashionable book. And I think the goal is the same.
I think different audiences need to be spoken to differently, you know, and I didn't say this, Gautam Buddha said this. He used to preach according to the time and capacity of the people. So my group is different, her group is different. She was doing some activism on the streets of London also when I last met her. So yeah.
Yes, good evening, ma'am. Namaskar. I have come to attend to the both of you from Bastar, from the beautiful state of Chhattisgarh, and I am going to say something which might not align with the friend of mine back there. I am amazed by the camaraderie that you exude, and I am amazed by the way you destigmatize a topic which is often not spoken about really well. And to you, I really have come here for you from Bastar, the both of us, ma'am and I. And from my side, I want to dedicate to the both of you beautiful, empowered women talking so flawlessly like college sweethearts. And I love the ease with which the conversation has flown thus far. So to you, I dedicate a poem that I wrote for my 6-year-old daughter. मेरी शक्ति और शिव तुम हो, नन्ही बेटी तुम सब कुछ हो, मुख से ललाट है छलक रहा मेरे छोटे से वैभव का, नित नए हर्ष से सिंचित मन घर के आंगन में फुदक रहा, बिटिया तुम निश्चल गौरव हो, मेरे व्रत का तुम प्रतिफल हो, आजीवन मुखर पराक्रम से अपने जीवन को गढ़ना तुम, होकर सच्चे पथ में प्रशस्त अपनी दुनिया को चुनना तुम सा उज्जवल, तुम सा निर्भय, तुमसे प्रेरित हो तब जीवन तुमको अपना हर सुख देगा, खुशियां होंगी गम भी होगा पर दोनों में संयम होगा, बेटी हर डर से आगे बढ़ तुम बात हवाओं से करना, अपने नन्हे से जीवन की माला प्रभु को अर्पित करना, और याद रखो तुम शक्ति हो, शिव हो, सुंदर हो, धरती हो, कभी हुई निराश तो मन ही मन अपनी माँ की बातें सुनना, है अडिग अनोखा स्नेह कोई तो तुम ना कभी अकेली हो, देखो उजियारा बुला रहा तुम हर दिन नई नवेली हो. Thank you for being so amazing. Thank you. This Delhi trip is
Beautiful.
worth it because
Really,
of the both
really.
of you.
Thank you so much. This
Thank
is
you
a
so much,
beautiful
ma'am.
poem.
I am honored, and you know what? The both of
Really.
us have come from Bastar, and I'm so glad. I'm from Miranda House and you're teaching here. You have come from Bombay. The kind of elite crowd, you know, my mother often told me while she was teaching at Labasna, Missouri. She said, you know, the amount of number, the head count doesn't matter. The point is when you sit for a good writer, for an author, we all stand to benefit. And we're so proud of what you've just done on stage. Take a bow. Kudos to the both of you.
Much. No, absolutely. This was incredible. Incredible.
This was amazing.
Yes, this was.
Fantastic, really.
And, you know, it is about camaraderie. Thank you so much for realizing that, because it's a very convenient myth, Shunali, that women cannot stand each other. I think mean women cannot stand each other. Mean men cannot stand each other either. And men can be more vicious. They have more stakes, and they have more resources at their disposal to harm you.
It's true.
So yes, I mean, don't just get fooled by, oh, two women cannot get along. Oh, we get along very well if we are both genuine.
Yeah. Thank you. That's very well said, Nishta.
Any other question? Yes, please. Can we have, where's the volume? Can we pass the mic, please?
Yes. Good evening, ma'am. I must say Delhi Literature Festival actually saved the best for the last. I think this was such an amazing session, and you both have a wonderful energy, and I'm sure I speak for everyone. So I'll keep my question very brief. So your portrayal of femininity is very, very authentic and bold. And I salute you for that, because we need more voices who can actually speak the truth to power. I'm interested, when your book was released, how did the male readers perceive it, especially the Gen Zs? Because the Gen Z males are much more, say, progressive compared to the millennials and the boomers. Any particular feedback from a male reader that actually struck with you?
So I'll tell you something very interesting, and Nishtha will probably get this. You know, I have a lot of men friends who are writers, who are authors, published authors, successful authors. So whenever they would write something, I would buy it and read it. But I found no reciprocal curiosity from men, because men's fiction is universal, it concerns everybody, but women's fiction is women's fiction. So we have to be interested in the lives of men and the stories they tell, but men couldn't be bothered, because they're like, that's why do we have a category of women's fiction? There's science fiction, there's fantasy, there's fan fiction, there's women's fiction. Where is men's fiction? Right? So firstly that. So I
Fiction is in their head, Shonali.
the same fiction which is making them send DMs to every girl sitting over here, right? So one is that. Secondly, I think that the book is just out. We just had a proper launch in Jaipur 2 weeks ago, and it's hit the stalls late December. But I don't know if Gen Z has read it, and I don't even know if Gen Z men are reading books. They're gaming, and they're seeing their mobiles. Yeah, they don't read.
And also, I don't think that any one generation is more progressive or regressive. I think it is a bunch that makes a difference, because majority of people are actually very happy following the suit. So yes, many boomers are progressive. Many Gen Zs are also extremely regressive. In fact, we were talking about this earlier. Remember how these boys, young boys, don't seem to have any friends who are girls somehow. That has disappeared. They only talk to boys. Girls have become enemies. Hey, ye to ladkiyan hai. We are not friends. They're not friends. They're only either an object of sexual curiosity, and that's it. They're not equal. So we have come a full circle. Again, it's very strange what has happened to younger people now.
Thank you so much for answering my question, and I'm sure more and more readers will pick the book and they'll really resonate with it.
Thank
All the
you.
very
There
best to
at
you,
the
ma'am.
bookstore, please pick your copies.
Last question, anybody else?
I have a question for Nishtha.
Yes,
Can she talk briefly about her book that she just translated? Briefly.
So my book is actually a translation. It's called Sita's Veil, and it's a translation of a Sahitya Academy winning author called Anamika. ये उनका एक हिंदी उपन्यास है तृणधरी ओट. एंड तृणधरी ओट एक चौपाई में से रामचरितमानस की चौपाई है. तृणधरी ओट कहित बैदेही सुमरि अवधपति परम स्नेही. So whenever she would pick up, सीता जी जब अशोक वाटिका में थी, रावण ने उनका हरण कर लिया था, तो वो जब रावण से बात करती थी तो एक घास का पत्ता एक तिनके को उठा के उसको देख के और तब बात करती थी. तो वो तृण उनकी ओट होता था. And this is my first work of translation, and what Anamika has done with the character of Sita there, तो हमने कोई modernize नहीं किया है सीता को. Sita is not a 21st century woman. She's not like Nayantara, but she is a proto-feminist in her own right, जो हम लोग शायद भूल गए हैं, क्योंकि हम लोग केवल धर्म के नाम पे और रिलीजियस टेक्स्ट के नाम पे हम केवल लड़ना जानते हैं, हम उनको पढ़ना भूल गए हैं. तो जो चीज़ हमको वाल्मीकि रामायण में मिलती है, हमने केवल वही उठाया है वहाँ से. एंड सीता जो हमारी सीता है, वो रोंदू सीता नहीं है कि हाय देखो मुझे राम ने छोड़ दिया. शी इज़ एन एम्पावर्ड मिडल एज्ड वुमन लाइक नयनतारा, लाइक बोथ ऑफ अस, who has single-handedly raised her sons with dignity, with fortitude, living by herself, एंड शी इज़ एन एजुकेशनिस्ट हु इज़ ओपनिंग. वो वाल्मीकि आश्रम में रहती है, और आश्रम क्या जगह होती है? पढ़ने पढ़ाने की जगह होती है. एंड शी ओपन्स एन इनिशिएटिव कि जो भी जंगलवासी हैं, चाहे वो राक्षस हैं, उनके भी बच्चे अगर पढ़ेंगे तो भी आगे बढ़ेंगे. That is what Sita's story is, and she is she's remembering her life as a child. राजा जनक के पैलेस में, फिर अयोध्या में क्या उनकी ज़िंदगी थी, फिर जब देश निकाला वाला जब आया, जब वनवास का समय आया, तब क्या था, और उसके बाद में अब सीता जो उनके बालों में सफ़ेदी आ गई है, तो वो क्या सोच रही हैं. दिस इज़ वॉट.
क्योंकि आई थिंक रामायण में तो सब वर्जन जो हमको पता है उसमें वो सपोर्टिंग कास्ट ही है, यू नो. बट व्हाट अबाउट हर ओन?
हम सब भूल जाते हैं कि
हर ओन
सीता
एजेंसी,
शक्ति
हर ओन
है.
लाइफ.
सीता शक्ति है, और शक्ति की पूजा तीनों त्रिदेव मिलके करते हैं, राइट? बिकॉज राम को भी जब रावण का वध करना था, तो वो सामने उन्होंने मतलब पूजा शक्ति को ही आह्वान करके किया था ना. तो सीता को ज़रूरत नहीं थी कि राम उनको बचा कर लेकर जाएंगे, या रावण में वो वश ही नहीं था कि उनका हरण करके ले जाते. वो सिर्फ एक लीला जो एक रची हुई थी, उसका वो एक पात्र थी, और वो एक विलन कैरेक्टर थी. क्योंकि जो डायरेक्टर होता है, जिसने लिखी होती है ना कहानी, वो सोचता है कि भाई जो सबसे डिफ़िकल्ट रोल है ना, वो मैं ही कर लेता हूँ या कर लेती हूँ, ठीक है, क्योंकि बाकी लोगों के बस का नहीं है. That's what our Sita is.
I hope you all will read her book as well. यहाँ पे स्टॉक नहीं हुई है, but it's available online and in all bookstores. Thank you so much, Nishtha. This was really wonderful. Thank you for reading my book so closely.
No, it was a delight, and Shonali tried her best कि अरे नहीं, मेरी तू ना मत पढ़ मेरी किताब, मैं तुझे बता देती हूँ, हम तो ऐसी बात कर लेंगे. I'm like, no, I have to read this.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Shanali and Ms. Nishtha, for sharing this powerful story and the reflections behind The Wrong Way Home. Now, may I request Ms. Katyayani and Mr. Manik to give a token of appreciation to our esteemed guests. Can we have them on stage? Everyone, please give a huge round of applause to Ms. Shanali and Ms. Nishtha, please. And with that, we wrap up day 2 of the Delhi Literature Festival 2026, a day full of stories, conversations, and ideas that will linger with us long after today. We will be back tomorrow with day 3, bringing more voices, more books, and more stories worth listening to. Until then, take a little literature with you and come back for more. Good night and see you tomorrow.